All right, man. So you know that I've been single for a while now, right?
Yeah.
And there's the whole, I've been on the Tinder and the Facebook dating and the whereblackpeoplemeet.com and the farmersonly.com and the, we've got.
Are we doing an after show or a main show?
No,
here?
I'm telling you, man. No, this is a regular show. This is a regular show.
Okay.
Anyways, so I gotta tell you, I met somebody.
On Grindr? Good for
No,
you.
not on Grindr.
Good for you, Keith. I'm happy for you.
Not on Grindr. Not on Grindr. No, actually, I think it was the old Facebook dating.
Oh.
She's pretty cool.
I don't believe you. That site doesn't work. I get no likes.
Yeah. School teacher. I used to be a school teacher-ish. I went to school for it. I never really entered the career so much, but...
you didn't go back to school to prove something to your dad that you're not a fool?
Yeah. So we seemed to hit it off pretty well, and she actually kind of gave me a decent topic for this week's episode.
Okay.
You want to talk about it?
Sure.
It's time to hit the trail, lock in those hubs, and throw it into low range. Because you are listening to Wheelin' with Keith and Johnny Orange. They're here to talk about 4x4s, trucks, and everything to do with enjoying the great outdoors. Buckle up. Here's your hosts, Keith and Johnny Orange.
John, we have talked about on this show, we have talked about Fords, Dodges, Willys, Jeeps. We have talked about Toyota Land Cruisers. We have talked about AMC. We have talked about some of the really early stuff. We have talked about
tractors, refrigerators.
We
air
have
conditioners.
International harvesters.
Yep.
Yeah, we
Guns.
have guns. UFOs, ghosts, aliens. We have talked about all sorts of things. But I'm talking about
Boats.
vehicles here. We've talked about Suzuki Samurais. We've talked about. Oh, actually, we haven't really done a samurai heavy episode.
We've discussed them a couple times.
them.
It's like 4 tools you need to tear them apart or something.
But, here's the deal. We've had a number of people that have asked us because, our old tradition was we started out this podcast 2 years ago and we did vehicle history episodes.
Yep.
And we did almost every episode was a vehicle history episode.
Yeah, they were kind of dry back then.
Exactly. And then we started going to doing it about every 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah.
And it's been about maybe 7 or 8 episodes since we've done one.
It has been a while.
It's been a while. And we've had some people ask us, hey, we want some of your history episodes again. And we haven't done one in a while. And
I was born in 1988 to John and Patricia Hahn.
Oh, my God.
Oh, not us. Okay.
Not you. So we went for this wonderful girl. I'm not gonna say her last name because I don't want to. I want to throw her out there, but her name's Angie, and we've had a great time last
Should we
couple
warn
of
folks
weeks.
that she's actually in studio with us tonight?
Oh, you're gonna do that one. She's sitting right next to you.
Oh yeah.
So yes, she
Well,
is.
we can't have a third person here. Not
So cheers to
reference
her.
them.
She doesn't want to come on the
Well,
air,
cheers
but
to you. You can
she's
say hi. At least
there.
say hi.
She's listening to us. So, but
She has no choice. There's nothing else to
she
do.
has a, I believe it's a 2020. You're nodding your head. Yes, 2020 Honda CR-V. And we've only briefly mentioned those in the 2+ years we've been doing this podcast. We have not mentioned the Honda CR-V or talked about it very much. We maybe talked about it.
Honda.
In past, we talked about the Ridgeline. We made fun of it for probably 30 minutes straight one time.
I forgot about that.
So we went over to the west side of the state last weekend.
I honestly don't know a lot about these, so there's going to be a lot of you here.
Well, that's the thing. Neither did I. So we went over to the west side of the state last weekend, and she's like, well, hey, you drive. And I'm like, whatever. I like driving. I've driven all over. I've driven to Alaska and California and all over the country.
Sure.
So, so I drove her CR-V, and I say there's some things I liked about it. There's some things I didn't like about it, and we can get into those. But I started, wondering, what's the history of these little CR-Vs? Because I've seen them around for a few years. I've seen them around, and I really didn't know, I knew they were Hondas, obviously, but I didn't know, where...
the name's on the side.
I didn't know when they started. I didn't know where they... I know where they come from, Japan, kind of. I just didn't know what the history of the CRV was. So I started researching it a little bit. And I've got a little bit of information, and this isn't going to be a tech-heavy episode, but I've got a couple of hot points and some things that might interest you, actually, believe it or not, about the Honda. Because I know you always love learning about these new ones.
We'll do.
But do you want me to tell you about my love and hate for the new 2020 or no?
No.
No, okay, all right.
Go ahead.
Well, okay.
That's fine.
So the 2020 technically is the 5th gen CRV.
Okay.
Okay. And we'll go back to the various other generations and what they've done with the CRV. But the 5th gen CRV, personally, it was extremely peppy car. And I'm going to call it a car right now. I am. I mean, maybe crossover SUV.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, I thought it was more of a smaller SUV.
It really is. It really is. But it was really peppy. It had a lot of power. And the thing will get away from you. Like, driving that thing, you look down, it's got a little digital dashboard on it, and you're like, ooh, 85 miles an hour? I'm going pretty quick in this thing. Because if I'm
doing 3
more
miles, you can go through time.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But you need a lightning rod.
If I'm driving the Excursion at 85, like, there's parts falling off. So
I don't think it does 80.
It may not.
You were talking about that last episode. Preston couldn't keep up with you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I was driving that Dodge in front of him doing that.
But at least it can drive 55.
Exactly. So I like that. What I did like, so she had an event she had to go to for about an hour, and I had to kind of like disappear for a little bit, but she gave me her keys to her car, and I'm like, all right. So I drove up the road. That was a
bad move.
I know. So I go up the road to this little hiking trail, and then I hike around.
Hold on, one question. Was the check engine light on when you got it back?
No, it was
Oh, then he likes you. He took care of it.
Exactly. So I leave the hiking trail, and I'm driving back, and I'm just kind of cruising through this little area, Holland, Michigan, and I'm driving through, and I'm going, all right, I want to turn the radio on. I can't figure out how to turn the radio on. There's all these knobs, and there's this big digital display, and I'm hitting all these buttons, and I cannot figure it out. It took me 20 minutes.
There's one knob.
And it probably says
There's
on.
really just one knob.
So
that is awesome.
So I hit this thing, and well, actually, I didn't get it that way. I went into her thing where you had to select FM radio, and I'm doing all the So apparently, you can hit the knob. Oh. It's not very user friendly with that,
or it's just not Keith friendly.
It's not Keith friendly.
It's just not Keith.
And so the rest of the displays in the dashboard are okay, but that's my biggest complaint is I don't think that the dashboard's very user friendly.
Yeah.
But the car seemed very solid. It very peppy. Obviously didn't do any off-roading in it that I'm going to admit to her about. And
okay, it's a safe space. She can hit you, and I'm gonna laugh.
So it was a lot of fun, though.
If you're gonna throw a drink at him, just avoid the mic, please.
Good little car,
and the computer.
I gotta say, because I have driven the small, because basically the CRV's main competitors are the Jeep Liberty and the Ford Escape. They consider those three in the same class.
The Escape over all three of those.
I have driven the Escape, I have driven the Liberty, and I would take the CRV all day long.
Really?
I'll tell you what. The Escape that I drove years ago, which would have been, of course, like maybe the second or third generation of the Escape, was gutless and very rattly feeling. Yeah. And I love my Ford trucks, you know that, but I was not impressed with the Escape. The Liberty, I rented one a couple of years ago as a rental car, and it was the most uncomfortable vehicle I think I've ever driven.
I've driven those just at a dealer moving them, and they're
felt like I was driving on a toilet seat going down the road. The bolsters on the seat, it was mainly the seat design, but then the whole thing, it just was oddly...
So you got a lot of paperwork done, Facebook.
But there you go, exactly. Yeah, a lot of scrolling on Facebook Marketplace. It was one of the most uncomfortable. It was basically the same interior as the PT Cruiser, which is also an old Chrysler product. Both
the turbo
of them,
versions of those are fun.
They're fun, but the interiors are crap.
They're garbage cars.
Both the Liberty and the PT Cruiser, it's like the same interior, and they're so uncomfortable. I can't stand the interiors.
I'm a big dude. I don't like small cars.
So I tell you what, I'm 6'2", 230 pounds. I fit in that CRV just fine. I had lots of leg room. I had lots of shoulder room.
That's one thing I will give to a lot of foreign cars. They have a crap ton of leg room.
Like the Suzuki Samurai.
Yeah.
I got more leg room than a Jeep. I mean, I don't understand it, you know?
Riding in a Scion once, and I was actually able to like kind of half stretch out. It was weird.
That's another example. Yeah.
Like there's a lot of room. These are big guy friendly.
Exactly.
Not all of them.
So I'm very impressed with that. So I like I said, I started doing some research on the CRVs, and so all right. So she says she's not on the podcast, but maybe she can yell across to us. Do you know what CRV stands for?
No, I do not.
No one knows what CRV is.
Constant revolutionary velocity.
It stands for Comfortable Runabout Vehicle. It is the Honda Comfortable Runabout Vehicle. That was the name.
I don't know why that sounds like something come out of Australia.
Yeah.
Only because of their phrase walkabout.
Okay.
But
So a little bit of history here, John, and I'm just kind of rattle through some of this. We can talk about it a little bit. But so the CRV was originally introduced in 1995. And it was Japan market.
Crossover here for the XJ.
And some of the Asian markets a little bit only. A little bit of a slow start, but in 1997 they brought it to North America and Mexico, Canada, U.S., all of that.
It's part of North America.
Well, exactly.
Just saying.
But it is based on the Honda Civic platform. Now, with me mentioning that, now this is a side note, and this is something I knew about years ago. What's kind of a neat thing. There are a number of people. Are you on the Facebook page Safari All the Cars?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm so bad with Facebook anymore. It's not even funny.
Well, so there's a lot of people now that are taking cheap cars and they're turning them into like trail runners and stuff.
Okay.
Well, what's neat about the Civic platform is the Civic platform is very much unchanged for the last 20 or 30 years, with very minor differences here and there, like at least the bolting points of a lot of things. You remember, I had that
pending member request. They haven't accepted me yet.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm sad.
You're not worthy.
Remember,
I guess not. What the hell?
Can I say?
Yeah.
So I had that 84 DX years ago, the only Honda Civic I've ever owned. It was a great little car. But back then, I had found out that the all-wheel drive drivetrains and everything for the larger Honda models, it's all modular. So you can take a Civic and you can take CRV parts, or you can take the early all-wheel drive parts, and you can make like an all-wheel drive Civic.
I like where this is going.
So you can take a standard Honda Civic
and make it
four-wheel drive with factory parts that all bolt together. And there's a number of people that have done that. So if you go on Facebook and you go on Google and you look it up, there's a number of people that have made some pretty badass.
I seriously need to win the lottery and just start building all this weird crap.
I know. Like you could build some.
I got some tickets.
You could build some really cool Honda stuff using all factory parts. And I know you like that type of build.
Yes, I love bolt together stuff. That's all.
Honda's been really good about keeping things modular. They've been really good about it. So, anyways, the CRV comes out. They introduce it in 97 for North America. And what's interesting about the CRV is, a lot of people are like, oh, it's not an American vehicle, it's Honda, this and that, blah, blah. The vast majority, they do produce them in Japan, they do produce them in the Philippines, but the vast majority of Honda CRVs are produced in Ohio, Ontario, Indiana, Japan, the UK, and then some in China. So, but the majority of them are actually produced in North America. So most of the CRVs you see around, and they have 70-80% domestic parts in them. So they're almost as high as
that's surprising.
They're almost as high as the Toyota Tacoma, which we've talked about before, as the most American pickup truck.
Yeah.
I know it annoys you.
Yeah, so much.
But so the Honda,
whatever. We're moving on.
It's right up there. And then I don't want to get into a lot of like the engine, like the torque and stuff. I know we've done it in the past. It gets a little boring at times, but
I like tech specs.
I know you do.
You didn't write any tech specs down, did you?
I didn't, bro. Almost
none. You don't
none.
care about me.
A little bit that you're going to enjoy. I wrote stuff down that you're going to enjoy.
Well, fine. I'll give you some credit.
So, now this is interesting. In 2000, now I did not know this. We have talked
every year for the millennium.
Sure, but we have talked about we've talked about multiple times. What's the most popular vehicle in Australia?
Subaru?
No. The most popular 4x4 SUV? Come on, there's one in my damn driveway. You can say
the Land Rover.
Not Land Rover, you dick. Land Cruiser. Land Cruiser. The Toyota
I wanted to see how long it could get you going.
The Toyota Land Cruiser since 1955 has been the most popular selling SUV in Australia. In 2000, it was finally, for the very first time, dethroned by the Honda CR-V.
Wow.
The Honda CR-V in 2000 dethroned the Toyota Land Cruiser.
That blows me away, honestly.
I did not know that, but the Honda CR-V in 2000 was the first time for the Toyota Land Cruiser to be dethroned in Australia as the most popular SUV sold there. And to this day, they're extremely popular. Now, getting on to the second gen. So I didn't write all the years down, and you can Google it, Wikipedia, whatever. But when they went to the second gen CR-V, the first gen CR-V was a little boxy thing. And actually, to mention the first gen CR-V a little bit that came out in 95 worldwide and then 97 for the US, really there was only one complaint about the entire vehicle. And that is that the tailgate on it opened to the right. It opened to the basically to the curb side. So any country where you had a standard left-hand drive vehicle, the tailgate opened weird. So you had to walk around the whole thing. And apparently it was such a major thing for a lot of people that they changed it in later models. But the first generation, a lot of people complained about that because the tailgate it just opened the wrong way.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Like you don't care, or like, or you think it's stupid engineering? Because
I don't know why people care. You just walk around the other side of the tailgate.
Yeah,
it's not that difficult.
I don't know what the percentage is, but I believe there's a higher percentage of countries in the world that use left-hand drive than right-hand drive.
Yeah.
So it would be kind of a weird thing for them to do, but
I guess.
I mean, but anyways, so the second gen. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to mention, first gen, right away, you were able to get automatic and your favorite manual.
Excellent.
And you could get it in two-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. Now, the CR-V has never been available with low range, so that's why it's questionable as to whether or not it's a true 4x4, but it does have a locking all-wheel drive where it would send 50-50 power, but it doesn't have a low range.
Interesting.
So it is four-wheel drive, but it's not low-range four-wheel drive. But
I'd still call it a 4x4 then.
From day one, you could get it with an automatic and a manual. I know you're a huge manual fan, as am I, but...
Yes. Only acceptable transmission.
So in the second gen, they added an additional thing that I think you might think is a little interesting that I never knew about.
Okay.
You get a diesel.
Ooh.
A Honda CR-V.
I was going to make a joke about that earlier, but...
Yeah.
I guess it wouldn't have been a joke.
Unfortunately, it was European spec only. So you couldn't get it in North America.
Why'd you have to get my hopes up?
I know.
What the hell? Not cool.
Dude, we've talked about the 26-year law, though, before. We're almost there. So what's 26 years ago from now? 2001 back is what, 94? Is that 26 years ago?
Oh, no, I'm not good with math.
So
next calculator.
So next year, is that what she could probably
95?
So... Like in a
hey,
year,
you're a teacher. What's the math?
There you go. So in a year or two, you can get yourself a diesel stick shift CR-V imported into the U.S.
Or I could just swap a diesel into it now.
Well, there you go. That's what I'm saying.
Find something that'll fit.
But I mean,
have grinder, have welder.
A vehicle that weighs like 3,200 pounds with and I did read that it's a 190 horsepower diesel with a 5-speed stick. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
That would be sweet.
I'm telling you, man. It sounds like a fun vehicle to me.
Again, I got to win the lottery here and just start building this crap. Like, for real.
I had no idea. I never knew you could get a diesel in these things. I was like...
26-year-old, I don't have to wait to buy just the engine.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, this is as bad as the truck frame thing we talked about last episode.
It is.
Why do you do this to me? And I don't even like Hondas, but I want to build it.
Well, I'm just telling you.
What was the movie? If you build it, they will come.
Exactly. Oh, you can also get the diesel in the Asian market too, but Europe's a little closer, so
Yeah, I got to ship it anyway I look at it.
Exactly. The third gen was only a couple year option or a couple year model with that. They don't like 4 or 5 years. There was really no major changes mechanically. The body changed with the third gen a little bit. Then they got to the fourth gen, and unfortunately, I hate to tell you this, John.
You know what? I already know what you're going to say.
What are you going to tell me?
They got rid of the manual.
In North America. The rest of the world kept the manual, but North America, you can normally get the CR-V, the first 3 generations, you get a manual in North America. The 4th gen, they dropped it in North America.
Well, they can just stay out of the States then. That's all I have to say to that. Get rid of them. Don't bring them in. Why did you do this? You brought it in. I'm blaming you. Part of it.
So 4th gen, they got rid of the manual transmission in North America. The rest of the world, as we've talked multiple times, Toyota's done this to us.
Kitty.
How did a cat get down here? There's a cat down here? Oh, lovely.
Sorry, not to distract you.
Yep.
I don't want to hear any more of the bad news.
Oh, I know. Well, I actually have some good news, though, because in 2017, they introduced the 5th generation, and that's what Angie has. She has the 5th generation. Hers is a 2020, but 2017 was the 5th generation
Only
model.
one thing I want to know.
What's that?
Only one thing I want to know.
What's that?
Did they fix what they messed up?
You can still get a manual, but only in the other markets. You can't get it in North America.
Well, they kept the modular thing, right?
Yes.
So you could make it correct.
Yeah, you really could. Like
Conceivably.
pretty much everything modular.
Wait,
But
do they have a diesel in this generation?
I believe so, but they also have their standard engine for North America is a 1.5 turbo.
Ooh.
Yeah, and they put the turbocharger on there, and the turbocharger way bumped up the horsepower. I don't remember what the actual specs on it are, but it was like basically the 2017 and newer engine is like 1.5 times more powerful than the 4th generation engine. So they really did a really good job boosting it up, and they offered the hybrid option with the electro motor on it for 2017. I don't know how good of a seller that is. I haven't seen a lot of them that have been sold. But they definitely have gotten into the technology of them, and they've done some neat stuff there. So basically, Honda's really been playing with this thing over the years, and it's been kind of a silent contender. I never realized what a silent contender. Now,
I didn't either.
There's a huge following on Facebook. There's a huge following in certain parts of the U.S. where people turn these into little off-roaders. The 1st and 2nd gens are super popular, where they take them and they like cut the fenders a little bit, put like 31s on them, and they're like stupid cheap. They're kind of like what we do with XJs in Michigan, but they do the same thing out in Washington, Oregon, and California, where they're more prevalent.
Yeah.
And, they can pick these things up used that are 20 years old now for $1,500, and they can do a lot of trail running with them.
Yeah.
And
admittedly, this sounds pretty cool.
They really are, but they're light. They're stupid light because it's a Civic platform. They're stupid light, and that's the magic of like the old XJs, because they're so light. You can run the mud, you can run the water, and all that. You don't get the low range, but you get all of that.
Yeah.
And part of the reason the CRV now it's actually Honda's best seller in the U.S. I thought the Civic was still the best seller. The CRV actually has outsold the Civic now. So
that's impressive. I'm not gonna lie.
But like I said, everything else I found was a lot of tech specs, and it was, all the various things. But that's kind of like, it's not a huge history on it. I didn't get into, because we actually did a Honda history episode, if you remember, forever ago when we talked about the founder of Honda.
Vaguely.
Yeah, I mean, that was like a year and a half ago.
Well, I don't remember a year and a half ago. I'd rather remember to
so if our listeners are interested in a full-on Honda history episode, you want to go way back and you want to listen to, I don't remember what episode number it was. See if you can find it quickly. That's fine. But so we have done that before. But the CRV, it's something we just really haven't talked about that much. But to me, the biggest thing was finding out that you could get it with a diesel and a manual.
Yeah,
and
that's
unfortunately not North America though. But the fact that you could do that, I mean, that sounds like a
that sounds like a fun project.
When you get a 3,200 pound SUV with a diesel and a manual, you could have a lot of fun with that thing.
Oh yeah. I
mean, that's less than an XJ. XJ is like 38, aren't they?
I don't know, but you could take that turbo and throw that on the diesel too.
Pretty sure the diesels are turbo.
Oh, the twin turbo then.
Whatever. What are you trying to look up again here?
I just looked at episode 12, Honda History.
Honda History, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I know it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
What episode are we on right now?
I believe this is 98. We got the big 100 coming up.
Yeah, we've been doing this a while, man.
Yeah.
We've been doing this a while.
Over 2 years.
Oh, it's crazy. But anyway, so I know that's not like, for our people that have been asking for a history episode, that's not like it's not like a Honda history episode.
No, we already did that, episode 12. Are you listening?
Well, there you go. I did try to do some digging about the design and stuff of the CRV, and there's not a lot of information out there. It just seems like, well, I did find out that, and this is part of the history, Honda Motor Company found out about the development of the quote unquote upcoming Ford Escape, and they wanted to build a competitor for the Ford Escape. Now, they actually beat the Ford Escape to the market. Apparently, Ford was working on the Escape platform, and I think the Escape came out in 97, which is the same year that the CRV was available in North America.
Yeah. Another changeover year for the XJ.
Exactly. And I could be wrong on that. It might have been 99. But anyways, Honda beat them to the punch.
Nice.
They had found out about the Escape coming up, and Ford worked on the Escape program for a couple of years. But then Honda said, well, we can take our existing Civic platform, which is a modular platform. We can put an SUV body on it. We can make it all-wheel drive, which they already did with the old Civic wagons back in the 80s.
Yeah, so it's just adapting what you already have.
Adapting what they already had,
That's
and they
awesome.
beat Ford to their own game, which
That's
is really
impressive.
It's
That's really
cool.
impressive.
So that
just
was
strictly speaking, and how long R&D goes for vehicles anyways, that's... I mean, when you have a modular system like that, you're straight up just building components for what you already have.
I can't speak 100% knowledgeably on this, but from what I could figure out when I did my research today and the other day on it, it does look like Honda's like R&D program on the first generation CRV was less than 2 years, and they had that sucker out on the road. So, I mean, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Ford usually spends 5 years on something before they... So,
Yeah, I believe it.
and, you know, they had the Liberty eventually was another contender, but, you know, the Escape was one of the first unibody small SUVs besides the XJ, but the XJ was still large considered to the X, you know.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an interesting setup there that it was just this contender, and it's just kind of a silent contender.
Yeah. As long as you don't hear much from or about it, that's pretty cool.
I knew a guy in the UP years ago that used to run a first gen CRV manual trans. He had a 5-speed on it, and it was all-wheel drive. And he used to run a lot of trails, and he had like they weren't even 31s; they might have been 29 little mud trains on it.
Yeah.
He used to run the back roads on that thing. I didn't know him that well, but it was a little red one. I remember seeing it a couple of off-road trips I was on.
Nice.
And man, that sucker,
It scoots.
they're really, like I said, they're just kind of an
when you
underdog
get that
here.
lightweight, it just floats over a lot of that stuff.
Super lightweight,
Yeah.
and then you put the all-wheel drive option to it. So
Yeah, that could be dangerous.
yeah, it is. I mean, it's kind of like a Subaru, but it's not as low as a Subaru.
Yeah.
They're still higher. They're basically about the same height as an Escape or an XJ, and
Nice.
so fun little vehicle, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pleasure to finally get to. I'd never driven a CRV before, and that's a 5th generation that she has. But
Nice.
you know, now I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to drive a 1st or a 2nd generation and see what they're like, especially on a manual.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be sweet.
I want to find one of those, but
Yeah.
but
I miss
anyway,
driving a stick. I'm gonna be happy with Pegasus done.
I can understand that. So, man, I know we've been talking about these Hondas and stuff like that. You got any updates on your projects or anything like that? Since
None at
last
the
week?
moment.
None
No,
at the
it's all
moment?
about where it was still.
You know, it's you know, we've had a lot of you know, different things we've been working on the last couple of weeks. You know, my F350 project is just really coming along. I'm collecting in parts collecting process.
Yeah.
And what are you texting me right now? Oh, I got it. I wrote it down at the bottom. You're such a weirdo.
You're just supposed to read it.
Oh, I was reading the text that you sent me, but no, I
What
didn't
was
read.
that noise?
What noise?
I don't know. Something just made a weird
Oh,
noise on the table.
The studio is getting to be a weird place these days.
It's haunted. Don't do that. That's good beer. Don't drop your beer.
What?
What the hell, dude?
My supposed beer, Oberon.
That's Oberon.
That's pretty good.
beer. It's one of
You
my
want one? There's more upstairs.
after this episode, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I got good ones for the after show.
Oh man. All
yeah.
right. So, anyways, you know, with the Hondas and stuff like that, did I ever tell you about the Honda story? I mean, we're going to talk about Hondas for a minute, and this is totally like
That's fine.
I know. Did I ever tell you my Honda drag racing story?
I don't remember. You
Have
may have.
I ever said
I
it
don't
on
know.
air?
I don't know. We're almost
my
at
God.
100 episodes. I don't remember all.
All right. So I'm going to say it again. If I've said this before to our listeners, I apologize. But
Don't ever apologize.
back in that's true. Back in high school and shortly after high school, I built a lot of drag cars. I built a lot of really fast cars, a lot of fun. I mean, we're talking 90s fast. We're not talking this stuff that today that's got like 700 horsepower. We're talking stuff that like did 14 seconds in the quarter mile versus, you know, today where you can go a lot
I'd probably
faster.
be like 30, so don't worry about it.
Oh, all right. So my mom had bought from her a friend that she worked with. She had said, "Hey, I'm gonna go trade in my car and I'm gonna get a new car." And my mom had said, "Well, what are you doing with the old car?" And she's like, "Well, they're gonna give me $400." My mom said, "Well, I need a winter beater. I'll give you $400 for your old car." So we drive like an hour and a half north of here with her friend that she worked with, another school teacher, because my mom was a school teacher, and we drove up to go pick up this car, and it was an 84 Honda Civic DX, and little hatchback, two-door hatchback, 5-speed stick.
Nice.
And my mom's like, "I don't know how to drive a stick."
I do remember something about this story, but I don't remember if I don't think it was on air.
Okay, so my mom says to me, "You want a car?" And I'm like, "Okay." Now, mind you, I had the 55 Chevy at the time, but I didn't have anything to drive in the winter. So I was like, all right, this will be my winter beater. So I've got my little 84 Honda Civic DX she gives me because I knew how to drive a stick. Well, found out that in 84, they had a couple engine options, and it was in the DX, it was kind of rare to get the 1.5, which is the larger engine. So mine had the 1.5, the larger engine in it.
Nice.
This car got like 65, 68 miles a gallon.
Good Lord.
And it was stupid fast. I mean, this car was fun. Well, before the quote-unquote racers were cool, the Fast and Furious, big exhaust and all that, that's what I started to do to this car. I put a bigger intake on it. I put bigger exhaust on it. I eventually put a bigger clutch in it. Did a lot of different stuff to it. Put a short throw shifter that I actually made because you couldn't buy a short throw shifter for it. So I made a short throw shifter for it. And the car was stupid quick. Well, we used to go out in Anchor Bay, which was frozen over out, just south of here. And we would race. And there was another road we used to also race on as well, too, allegedly.
Yeah, exactly.
Anchor Bay, we would race out. They had legitimate kind of drag racing out there.
Nice.
So I have my buddy Rob with me, and I don't know if he listens or not. I think maybe he does sometimes. But we went out in Anchor Bay, and the deal was you would pull down the boat launch there, and you would you started at the boat launch, and they actually had a flag girl. She would be out there, and she would wave the flag, and you would take off. And the first person to get to McRae's restaurant down there, not McRae's, Bobby Mac's restaurant down there. I forgot what it was called back then. It might have been McRae's, but whatever it was. The restaurant down in the bay, which was about 1.5 miles. So it wasn't a 1/4 mile drag. It was a little bit longer. But the first person to get down to the restaurant won.
Okay.
So
What'd you win?
Just
Bragging rights?
Bragging rights, yeah.
All
Bragging rights, yeah. So we had done a couple of races that were kind of close, but we had won pretty much every race. Well,
Nice.
we go up, and mind you, we're in a pretty much stock Honda Civic, and we pull up, and my buddy Rob and I are sitting there, and this guy pulls up in this mid-'80s Pontiac Trans Am, tunnel ram, dual quad carburetor sticking out of the hood.
Jeez.
Huge ass racing slick tires in the back. I mean, this car is built to drag race. So we're sitting next to him, and his car's like, brum, 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 and we look over at him, and we're like, all right. And so the flag girl drops her flag, and I go along, and I'm rolling through the gears, and I mean, there's just ice and snow throwing up in the windows because we had the windows down, and we're going along, and I'm not even paying attention. I'm just like hammering it, going through the gears in this car, and all of a sudden Rob just starts laughing. And I'm like, what's up? And he goes, and we're at the end where the restaurant is, and there's the dude at the end that's like, hey, you won, and he goes, look behind you. I look in my rearview mirror, and that Trans Am has only made it about 30 feet because he's on racing slicks, and he's sitting there sliding.
That's awesome.
I mean, this guy's got like 700 horsepower under the hood.
That dude had to be pissed.
Oh yeah, and he can't move because he's got racing slicks. I mean, I'm running street tires, but
That's
so
awesome.
obviously, if we would have been, on pavement, he probably would have beaten me. But
Yeah.
After that, I was like, yeah, I beat that dude in the Trans Am with the dual quad, big engine, and everything like that in my Honda Civic.
Nice.
And so, yeah, that was a lot of fun. I used to run that car out on Phelps Road back when it was dirt. We used to go around what we call Dead Man's Curve. And
Why does every car story in every town and city have a dead man's
that's
curve?
what it was a 90-degree curve, and we had like 5 guys that rolled. Nobody actually died ever, as far as I know, but we had like 5 guys that rolled their cars in that corner because it was a 90-degree corner at the end. So we would race from Algonac High School down Phelps Road, and the idea was first one around Dead Man's Curve won, and that was like 2 miles down.
Nice.
And I raced the 55. The 55 was not as gutsy though as the Honda. I used to take the Honda and I would run that thing because that thing was like on rails. It was like a go-kart. You know, I would just go along and I'd go through that 5-speed and I'd rip around that corner like nothing. And that Honda was undefeated. I think the 55, I think I got defeated a couple of times.
Nice.
But the Honda, there was guys that they had big cars. There was a guy that had a Mustang with a 5.0 that was all built and everything, and I always beat him.
Nice.
And it was always bragging rights. We never really...
yeah.
I mean, once in a great while, we would bet for, I would say, a case of beer, but I don't even think it was that. It might have been a case of pop or case of six-pack or whatever. I mean, we were just...
smoke.
Yeah, we were just... yeah, we were gearheads back then, and, nothing, no big bets, but...
10-millimeter sockets.
But that Honda was undefeated. I never
Nice.
lost a race in that Honda.
Nice.
And I probably raced that thing probably 30, 40 times,
Nice.
So,
So whatever happened to it?
oh, I told you that story, didn't I?
You may have told me, but I don't remember, and I don't think they do either.
So, ooh, yeah. So, all right. This is kind of sad because
Oh, no.
the Honda, a couple episodes ago, we were talking about a different vehicle. Do you remember what we were talking about?
No.
No, you don't.
No.
So I had just met my friend Ryan, and he drove a mint condition. This is like 1996, 1997, so it wasn't that old, but mint condition, beautiful MJ Comanche.
Okay.
All right. Bright red.
I'm very scared of where this is going now.
Bright red MJ Comanche.
Okay.
So I had met him through school. We'd become friends.
Yep.
Now, we are driving. There was Jason, who you know.
Yeah.
He sat on our board for years with the museum.
Not literally on the board, but next to.
Yeah, whatever. Jason, our mutual friend. I had introduced him to Ryan, and him and Ryan were in the MJ. And we were going out to work on, I want to say Jason's Bronco, but it might have been something else. But I'd never been to Ryan's house before. I just met him, basically, and we'd been friends through school. So it's like senior year of high school. So, actually, I take that back. It wasn't Jason. It was my friend Mike. But anyways, so mutual friends. And so Mike and Ryan were in the MJ. And they're going down the road. And I'm following them in the Honda. And all of a sudden, an old rusty van in front of Ryan goes whoop, whoop, around on the curb.
Okay.
Real quick. And Ryan rear ends a brand new Chevy Suburban at about 45 miles an hour.
Oh.
And I promptly rear end Ryan doing about 45 miles an hour in my Honda Civic. Now, he totals the Suburban. The MJ looks like an accordion. I actually hit his rear axle because I pushed
Holy
up with a Honda.
crap.
His bumper was in my windshield.
Holy hell.
Now, so I immediately throw the car in reverse, pop the clutch, pull it out from underneath the MJ. It drops on the ground. The Comanche drops on the ground. I pull it to the side of the road, check on Ryan and Mike. They're okay. And,
How about the dude in the Suburban? Did no one think to check on him?
Well, yes. So the cops get there, and it happens to be an old family friend cop. And we get talking to him, and he pulls Ryan and me aside, and he goes, "You guys are fine. You're not getting tickets." And we're like, "What do you mean? We just rear-ended him." And he goes, "This is the 6th rear-end accident this guy's been in this year." He goes, "This guy is," he goes, because when he told him what happened, there was this whole van that just went around him. There's apparently an old insurance scam called a pop and squat. And what they do is they take a vehicle that they don't want to pay payments on anymore. They have someone follow them with a shitty vehicle. They zoom around that vehicle at the last minute, and they make someone rear-end them. It's called a pop and squat. Well, anyways, this guy had been involved in it, but the guy's like, "We've already been investigating him. We're sure it's the same driver, different vehicle. It just keeps happening."
Wow.
So, like, this guy's probably going to jail. You guys are fine. And so, but anyways, Ryan, because he asked me, he goes, "Why didn't you stop?" To me. And I go, I never saw brake lights or anything. I'm like, I don't know, sure he hit his brakes. And Ryan's like, oh yeah, I heard my brakes. The cop looks up underneath it. Well, Ryan had just installed trailer lights, but he didn't know what he was doing, so he had cut the harnesses off and he wired it straight into the trailer. He had trailer lights, no brake lights. I didn't know this.
Nice.
Anyways, well, Ryan's truck is totaled. They
Yeah.
had to total it out of there. They had to take it out of there.
That's a
So then the family friend cop says to me, I'll just say his first name, Graham. And I'm still friends with him on Facebook and everything. It's hilarious. When he came to my dad's funeral and all that, and he told me he'd written 2 tickets in his entire career. Like he just was so checked out. Well, so he says to me, he goes, and Graham says to me, he goes, I'll get a tow truck and have him pull your car home. I says, hey, it backed up. It should be fine. And he goes, you're gonna drive it home. And I says, yeah. So I leave and I drive like 2 miles home. Now, mind you, the engine is pushed back like 4 inches in this Honda Civic. The radiator's wrapped around the engine. The antifreeze is all on the ground. I drive this thing home with the windshield the hood up on the windshield.
good Lord.
I drive her home. My dad comes out and he's like, and he goes, we got this. So he goes in the garage and gets a 16-pound sledgehammer and smashes the hood down till it's straight. And I'm like, what do you, like, not straight, but so you could see over it. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, you're going to drive the car till it dies. I'm like, it has no radiator. And he's like, yep, drive it till it dies. I drove that Honda Civic probably 4 or 5 months. Okay. With no radiator.
Wow.
The temperature gauge pegged on it. So then I'm dating this girl, Lisa, at the time, all right, in high school. And Lisa wanted to go out to Lakeside Mall, which is, as you know, from here, 30 miles, 35 miles?
Sure.
Something like that, down Hall Road. And I had only taken the Honda around town. So I'm like...
Oh, I hadn't done any long driving.
Yeah, I hadn't done long driving. No
But he had
radiator,
a Focus. He did that.
no
with.
radiator fluid in it. You know, whatsoever. No antifreeze. So Lisa and I get in the Honda, and we go down... It actually went fine. We went down Lakeside. We went around Lakeside. So then we come back from Lakeside. Now, mind you, I had the entire time, I had a for sale sign in the back window of the Honda. I was like, for sale, good for parts. I had my phone number on it.
Yeah.
And I had the title in the glove box. Well, we're driving back, and all of a sudden, I mean, like I said, the temperature gauge was always pegged. Well, all of a sudden, she starts knocking really bad. Knock, 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 knock. And I go, Well, all of a sudden, a little bit after that, a couple miles down the road, it starts spitting oil up out front of the hood, up under the windshield.
Oof.
Then it starts smoking. Then, as we turned off 26-mile road onto Marsh Road, flame starts coming out from under the hood.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
It had thrown a rod or something, and the oil had got in the manifold, and it had caught on fire.
So I assume the rest of the story is you drove it home still.
No, I drove it straight to the junkyard on fire, and she's freaking out. She's freaking out, and well, actually, we stopped by her house first, and she was driving a little Toyota, I don't know, whatever it was, a little crap box Econo beater 5-speed car, and I said, grab your car and meet me at the junkyard. So we stopped, and so I kept driving to the junkyard, and the car's on fire. I mean, it is on fire.
Well, you didn't think to put it out first?
I didn't have anything to put it out. So I pull it into the junkyard. On fire. I jump out. I got the title in my hand. I run in and I talk to our mutual friend, Sean.
Yeah.
And I says, hey, Sean, what do you give me for an 84 Honda? And he goes, does it run? I says, barely. And he goes, $50. And I said, good enough. And he hands me $50. I hand him the title. And he goes, what does it need? That's what he says to me. He goes, what does it need? And I go, fire extinguisher.
Needs everything.
That is awesome.
And so I run out. I run out and get in her Toyota. We leave. Like 2 weeks later, I see him doing a parts run in it. The thing's still rad.
That is awesome.
It's still rad. So
we have to get a hold of him and find out the rest of the story on this.
I'm pretty
thing.
sure it got crushed pretty soon after. He probably doesn't even remember it at this point. I mean, I'm talking 20-something years
That's
ago.
a pretty memorable sale that you made with that. I'm hoping he remembers that.
I'll have to ask him what he's
That
doing.
is awesome. Oh, my God.
I never told you that before, driving a Honda Civic on fire into the junkyard.
We've talked about it, but I think it was only up to when your dad hammered the hood out with a hammer.
Oh.
I never got the rest of the story. is awesome.
So that my little Honda Civic. Someday I know I have pictures of it somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know where they are, but somewhere I'm gonna find those pictures someday, and I'll show you. It was
Nice.
It was a baby blue one. I eventually painted most of it. I hadn't finished it, but I painted most of it hot rod black.
Nice.
I had a T-handle shift granite custom console I built. It was actually like a Fast and the Furious racer, but like 10 years before that movie came out. Like or 5 years.
If you're gonna paint flames on the site, you don't need actual flames to model from, right?
Yeah, well, I never did play
You
flames
can buy
on that
stickers.
one. Yeah, exactly.
And the stickers add horsepower, remember?
But anyways, and that's where I developed my respect for some of the Honda products. I mean, obviously, I have an 87 Honda 4Trax 450 Foreman, or 350 Foreman.
You can't count the ATVs and the UTVs, though.
Honda knows how to build good small engines.
They do. The rear axles on the 400 Foreman suck, but of course I was also, riding that thing through the river a lot, and I may or may not have flipped it once or twice.
Well, yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
But
Yeah,
I mean, they know what to do with
only
the
one
motorcycles.
time did I almost break my leg. The other time I would have broken my neck, but I got lucky.
Every Honda four-wheeler, motorcycle, whatever I've had has always been up.
Generators are good.
Generators,
Weed whackers,
power washers, weed
lawnmower.
whackers.
Yeah.
In our Honda history, you said 12?
Yeah, episode 12.
If you guys are interested in listening, I remember that being a pretty interesting episode, actually.
I'll be honest, I don't remember it at all.
We went back in the family history.
We probably told this story, too, on that episode,
Maybe,
I'm sure.
but we went back in the family history of Honda. I remember we talked about Akito Honda, I think was his name, if I remember right. But we went back into the family history of Honda and how he got started out and everything. So if you're interested in hearing more about Hondas, I definitely think you need to go back, whether you're on Podbean or Apple or iTunes.
We're on a whole bunch of them now. I got us on a bunch of other ones.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, there's one or two I'm still trying to do. One of them still set up for Andrew the producer's old email address, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
I can't seem to change it. Yeah.
I'll figure it out. But
yeah.
Go back and listen to episode 12, Honda history. Like I said, we've talked about Hondas before, but this is the first time we've ever talked about the CRV. We're still going to make fun of the Ridgeline.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course.
I mean, sorry. The Ridgeline is just ridiculous.
Just get my buddy from the dealership, Johnny V, on. He had one for a while.
I used to work with a guy that had one. He used to beat the crap out of that thing. So, I mean, it is what it is. But,
yeah. He liked it. He liked it when he had it.
But
what are you doing?
I don't know what she's doing. Is she going to go pee in the corner?
I mean, there's a bathroom in the other room, dude. There's a bathroom in the other room. Don't go in the corner. Just put some newspaper down first.
If people are interested, like I said,
Please don't hit me.
Episode 12. And then if you're interested more about the Museum of Off-Road Adventure, which we talk about all sorts of history stuff there, it's open to the public by appointment, or, we do have regular hours. We'll be posting on Facebook soon. You can go and you can find us Museum of Off-Road Adventure on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. John, what else would you like to tell
Within
people?
Facebook, we do have our group 4x4 Talk. So if you guys want to interact with some of the other listeners or Keith and myself, admittedly more Keith than me, I'm really bad about checking it. I'm sorry. I'm really bad with it. Get on Facebook, look up 4x4 Talk. Join that. A couple quick questions gets you on there. Do ask you for your email. We're not putting you on an email list or anything, though. We're going to start doing some contests or something in the future with that. It's just for our reference. At most, we might send you something once a month. But check that out. Interact. Post pictures of your builds. Ask questions. Do whatever you want to post there, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. And with that, John?
Now you got to tell them about the car show.
Oh, Wheels in the Woods, October 9th, 2021. Wheels in the Woods car show. We are having that in Clay Township, Michigan. Best way to find out information on that is go on Facebook and look up Wheels in the Woods 2021. That is a all-vehicle show again this year. Of course, we heavily focus on 4x4s. And we have lots of great classes, plaques. We're going to have our very popular trivia contest is coming back. Last year, the final two contestants were father-son. That was pretty
awesome.
cool. That was neat. That's been a very popular event the last couple of years. We are bringing back the kids' Power Wheels racing once again. We are getting rid of the RC racing just because we had too many difficulties with the different classes on that.
Yeah.
But we would definitely like you to bring your kids' Power Wheels, race those, and then the trivia contest. And forewarn you listeners of Wheelin', a lot of your history episode or history trivia is going to be from the Wheelin' episodes. So go back and listen to the old podcast because you're going to have a one-up if you show up. And although our winner last year, was it Mike Manzak? Was he the winner? Or no, that was 2 years ago.
I honestly don't remember. I'm
last
sorry.
year, the father-son team, it was not Mike. It was the other gentleman. It was the father won last year, though.
We've established I'm bad with names. Don't.
Yeah, the father, I forgot their names, but the father won last year. And I think he said he was a podcast listener, and I know Mike is
nice.
too. So,
This could be interesting.
the last 2 years, podcast winners have, or podcast listeners have won the episode or won the trivia contest.
I
So,
like it. What we might have to do, maybe do some bonus questions from Patreon. So if you guys want to get in on some of that, patreon.com/wheelinradio. Access those $2 a month, get you some of the bonus content, bonus episodes we do. There are some free ones, so you don't have to pay to check those out. But maybe we'll do some bonus questions from Patreon in that trivia.
oh, I like it, John.
So there's some real curveballs out there. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Just let your buddies know about us. Hopefully they'll get some same entertainment out of this. And, help us grow the show.
Exactly.
And with that, we'll say thanks for listening and have a good one, everybody.